All right, guys, it's been a week or so since we all got together. We did have a podcast that came out in the interim that we pre-recorded. A lot of things happened during Thanksgiving week, so we're able to get together now. We have a special guest. He's we got Wendell with us tonight. He breaks up the three C's. We got three C's and a W tonight. And then Wendell, why don't you go ahead and give us some of your experience? Why would we want to, I guess, listen to what you have to say? what what is you are veteran, and yeah, just let them know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was 6 years in the military. I'm a big firearms enthusiast. So do a lot of reloading, a lot of shooting, a lot of load development, custom rifle building. I'm partnered with you, and we have the CW Guns and Gear channel on YouTube.
Yeah.
Yeah, we do a lot of really interesting, fun stuff. So
Yeah, we do. We've been I've been having to adjust some of my schedule with the change within Phoenix being diagnosed with autism. So we haven't been putting out as much, but we're getting on it. I finally found my card reader, so I can get all those files we have ready to go. We'll start putting some more videos up on the CW Guns and Gear. So I tore this house apart and found this. This is the thing that's holding me up. So,
Could have bought
but
a new one
anyways,
for cheap, sent it to you.
but it was the bag that came with all the memory cards in it that I had lost.
Oh, okay.
So we recorded a really cool video of us blowing a pumpkin to hell. Well, 3 pumpkins to hell.
Can it really go to hell? It doesn't have life.
Went somewhere.
the first one we shot, it pretty well pureed it right there. We put tannerite up inside the pumpkin, and we probably got 35, 40 feet up in the air with some of the shrapnel from it.
Yeah.
So it was pretty interesting. It was entertaining.
Yeah.
So what did you learn off of that?
Not a whole lot, but it was really fun.
How about how close are you supposed to be to that pumpkin when you're blowing it up?
We stayed about 115 yards away. So,
was it far enough?
For the GoPro cameras, it wasn't. We had 2 GoPros that were within 15 yards, and it just painted them with pumpkin.
Dude, the only way I could get all that stuff off of the cameras is I had to, well, the stands, the camera stand, the tripods, I had to put them in the dishwasher to get all the stuff off. It's the only way I could
How do
clean
you know they're
it.
dishwasher safe?
They are now, I know.
They put that on their package now.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. I got that going. I finally got the video downloaded. Though
Nice.
one with the 2 pumpkins was pretty cool. Yeah, so yeah, it was pretty cool. We have a lot of good times with each other. One of these, and I think the only one that you haven't met in person is Colin, but he doesn't leave town very often. He's kind of a homebody. So
yeah, I don't leave town. I don't leave town very often either.
Yeah,
I leave town every day, and I go all kinds of towns. Yeah.
What town are we going to?
Somewhere better than where I go.
Yeah, you were in Nebraska last week, so yeah, I shouldn't talk too much crap.
In Nebraska, that's cold right now. Dude.
Yeah.
You were there during that big blizzard that hit, right?
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, it was
Colin hit
on the funeral.
Yeah, unfortunately, his grandfather passed away like the 2 days before Thanksgiving. What was it, Tuesday or Wednesday?
It was the Wednesday, I believe. Yeah. Pretty sure it was Wednesday or Tuesday. No, actually, I think it was Tuesday night.
Yeah.
I can't remember. It was a crazy couple of weeks. I'm still recovering. Everyone got sick. Kids were screaming all 12 hours.
12 hours home, huh? What, did you have your foot in it or what?
I just disassociated. I don't know what happened.
Welcome to being a truck driver, right?
Yeah. I just turn my brain off and it's like motor functions activate and just don't fall asleep.
So back to what you were talking, you wanted to show us some cool stuff that you were looking into, right?
Yeah, this is I'm still kind of hesitant. I don't know. Now that I'm about to bring it up, I'm like, I don't know. Should I? It's a little.
How many holes can we put into this one?
I mean, because none of it's been like no one's officially said anything. The only thing that's official is Trump retweeted the interview of Patrick Byrne talking with AJ. Did you guys watch that?
I had got a chance.
Okay. I don't know. It may be worth throwing. I don't know. There's 4 of us, so it may not work out too well. It's a 1 minute or 6 minute clip.
Was it the one with Trump's face with the flag on it?
That was the post of the basically him reposting this interview. So I almost kind of want him to, it's 5 minutes. Do you just want to let me just share it real quick? Let's just try
You got
it.
highlights, or you want to watch the whole thing?
It's 5 minutes. That's the highlights.
There is no highlights.
Anyone object? Let's go.
Go for it.
Roll it. Broke. Sounds great.
Breaking news got out in the Dallas Express and other publications. You have this letter. As you said, the defections are happening. This is a big deal. Patrick Byrne, tell us what's happening. Exclusive former Maduro spy chief letter to expose narco-terrorist war on U.S. This is a game changer. Tell us what's happening.
Yes, the former head of military intelligence of Venezuela, his name, Hugo Carvajal, he's been sitting for 2 years. He's defected in 2017 from the regime and stayed in Spain. We arrested him 2 years ago. And he's been sitting in prison in New York. He reached out to me, to me and the people I've worked with you, the Gary and the guy I call Zorro, the 3 of us who've been on this, and offered to flip and turn everything up. Now, just so you know, everything we've been fighting is actually, this election system is categorized as a weapon, and it reports to the Venezuelan military intelligence. So this is the guy who was over the weapon. He was Nicolas Maduro's and Hugo Chavez's director of intelligence. So he knows it all. He got in touch and let us know that he would flip sides, and that he negotiated rigging elections in dozens of countries, and his office was wired for sound. He has videotapes of dozens of countries in his negotiations. Don't worry, people. They're all safe. They're all hidden. He was offering to turn this over and help. He cooperate. And what's really important to know, since June, what's really important to know is the DOJ and the CIA blocked it. The CIA has been saying he doesn't have any useful information. That seems odd. The Venezuelan Direct General of Military Intelligence doesn't know anything worth debriefing about.
That was grabbed under Biden to make sure he stayed quiet.
Yeah, and kept completely isolated. Well, he's actually, oddly enough, he's in Rikers Island now. His cellmate is P. Diddy, believe it or not. But he's, and I've also heard stories about how P. Diddy kind of, and how he's behaving in Rikers. We'll save that for a different day. Anyway, this guy, he's written a letter that says, this letter may as well be Alex Jones was right. Alex Jones was right. The director of military intelligence of Venezuela has written a letter that says, you're in a war with the United States. The U.S. is in a war with Venezuela. We're overthrowing you. Cuba, Venezuela. The drug trade was a weapon. We set this all up as a weapon. Smartmatic is all rigged. I know. I installed the head of IT. We built it. This is him saying this. It's all rigged. Your elections have been rigged. Blah, blah, blah. It's only a 2.5 page letter. You really put up on your site. And third, he says something very remarkable. I'm surprised. I'm only going to mention it because it's in this letter, which higher authorities okayed could be made public. There's a piece of very sensitive information in there that I'm surprised they've decided to make public. I'll put it this way. When General Flynn was briefed on this, so General Flynn, as I've said, He stayed out. We didn't bring him in any of the illegal stuff or whatever we were doing before the election. But since the election, he's kind of emerged as, I kind of think of him as my handler these days. Or for us, it's kind of, it's like playing sandlot basketball and having Michael Jordan show up to be your coach. It's great. So when we have this information, we can bypass all the 3-letter agencies who hate me now anyway, and get it to Flynn, and he knows the right people for it to go to. It bypasses all the bullshit. He turned white when he heard this information, and the information that came from this Venezuelan general in a prison is that in 2015 we invited the Russians in. Their undersea cables. Ask Darius. Put up Darius. I sent you some maps. There are these maps of undersea cables of Latin America. You can see that the undersea cables, which carry all the telecoms, come up the coast and they touch each country. They touch Venezuela. In that port on that island, they brought the Russians in and they tapped in since 2015. That means the Russians have been in our military since 2015 worldwide. My understanding is once they've broken in one place, they get access to the whole network. It's like its own internet. And the Russians have been had 100% access to all our comms since 2015. And so that was when General Flynn heard that, I'm told he went white and said, I can't even put this in the report.
By the way, that's what William Binney said on my show, the technical head of NSA, like 8 years ago. He said he caught the Democrats building back doors into all the NSA and then giving it to foreign assets.
Doesn't surprise me. Well, they gave that he walked over. This was so sensitive. He walked over and briefed the president on this face to face just 4 or 5 months ago when we got it. That means that Russians have been inside everything for 10 years, all of our systems, all of our government systems. That's such an extraordinary. That may be one of the most, well, that is one of the most damaging things ever to happen to our national security.
Well,
Venezuela
what did think he did under Obama ordering backdoors built in so they could do it? They didn't think somebody'd hack their email and get the damn back door?
I think he's a traitor. I think they're traitors. I think that there's a long
No, exactly. He didn't get hacked. He gave it to him.
Yeah, he didn't get right. Well, we're so penetrated now from this intrusion. That alone is an act of war demanding we address it. But coupled on this letter is just amazing. You got to give it to your viewers. It's Alex Jones, the head of military intelligence of Venezuela, has written a letter, and it's Alex Jones on his most souped up dimethyl blue or whatever it is that we take, most souped up energetic. He's confessing it all to us. He's saying you absolutely have to defend your country. You're being overthrown. This is where they've committed acts of wars. You are absolutely in the right to go and liberate Venezuela, etc. He's saying all this in the letter.
Boy, come back. I've got the letter.
Is that it?
Yeah. So that's basically it in a nutshell. So first off, I don't trust anything Patrick Byrne or anyone really has to say. So in the sense of, I'm not going to just take someone's word for it. There's a lot of circumstantial evidence that we've been talking about the last several months that outlie kind of the real reason behind the Venezuelan invasion or potential invasion. It's probably not going to be an invasion. It's probably going to be worst case airstrikes and guys in black helicopters killing people, certain people. Because, I mean, I'm assuming Wendell might have a bit more insight into this but that you get a carrier group down there, you got all kinds of electronic weapons platforms to canvas everything. And once you start putting a carrier fleet out right off the coast of Venezuela, everyone's talking, so you can scoop up a lot and start figuring out where everyone is. So a part of the theory is that Venezuela was really, the CIA and our State Department has basically structured South America and Central America in the form that it is today. So, the Chinese didn't really start coming in, to my knowledge, till about 20 years ago, in force. And then it's just been kind of a scale up from there. So through the 70s, 80s, 60s, we've been shaping our hemisphere in terms of State Department through covert action. These cartel and these criminal elements, you go back in history, every bandit tribe that operated within a kingdom was either, given a license to operate in like kind of like on borderland warfare between other nation states, or they just kill them. Like you never allow, like criminal elements are allowed to exist in a country. Do you think that's a fair assessment? That, I mean, if we wanted to, we could destroy any criminal element we wanted.
Yeah.
Like, first off, we should be able to, they need access to the banking system. So that right there should tell you a lot, especially in the modern era. Like,
And if you
cash
cut them off from
coming.
the Chinese, from being able to money launder, they basically have zero.
Yeah, but they still need I mean, the Chinese have that problem too of storing wealth, and they kind of have to make do with what they, that's part of why they're trying to get in and buy all these assets up throughout the rest of the world. Because I mean, we haven't cut them off, but they're still on the SWIFT systems, but that's not really the main system. The big system for storing wealth long term has been the offshore black banking system. That's like where long term wealth is stored for like to collateralize and use for debt leverage. Beyond that, it's about resource extraction and in your consumer markets. Those are the two main drivers for most other economies, besides those that kind of hold the old wealth, land deeds, trusts, all that kind of stuff. Basically, my point is Venezuela has been like those regimes down there. It's been best described to me that the GWAT was basically Langley versus Tampa, where the CIA has all their, or the State Department or their cutouts have funded through indirect means. And when I say CIA, it's not CIA proper. It's like these NGO groups, all these, dark money funding systems that have been set up over the years. Money gets funneled to these so-called these terrorist groups that we're supposed to be fighting. And like we're pretty much directly or indirectly funding almost all of it. And it kind of all started, at least as the United States is concerned, with the Mujahideen. The British Empire has been doing this forever. Empires have done this forever. They always go out and buy up local mercenaries' assets and redeploy them for their own, for their own management purposes, especially in these third world countries where it's all run by gangs anyway. If it's run by gangs, well, we'll just own the gangs. So it's like,
Or we build our new gangs.
yeah, or when the old ones become a little too, self-aware, a little too big for their britches, we get the young guns funded, the young kids that are resentful, and these old guys, these old school guys don't know what they're talking about. And that happens all the time. You see these younger gangs, typically they're younger, the leadership's younger, they're a bit young and dumb, but they got more energy. Get those guys funded. They tend to be way more vicious. Look at the cartels down there. There's those, the Sinaloa is having that problem right now with this young, I forgot the name of it. It's literally like called like the Young Guns or something like that, or young, but that's kind of their idea. They're the next generation and they're way more vicious than Sinaloa. They're like, there's really no rules for them, and they're kind of just chaotic. They don't really have a game plan or a real strategy, which makes them really easy to manipulate. So my contention and several other people, is that basically the way to cut off all this mob gangland government that's going on in South America is you got to start cutting off the actual criminal elements, the drug trades, which from their money supplies. And Venezuela is the railhead of all that. It's access to the Caribbean. It's the major port for transatlantic shipping. The Chinese are all over the place down there. They're linked up with Colombia, so they can cross. They have trade, they can transfer stuff between Colombia to Venezuela to get across South America for Pacific to Atlantic trade. So it's kind of, and then the harbor there is a natural choke point to station an aircraft carrier group to begin the process.
Which harbor?
What's the name of it? What's the capital
Of which country?
of Venezuela? Caracas.
Which is interesting. Caracas is like right on the coast too.
Yeah. So it kind of, for me, whenever you see carrier groups, it's always about trading resources, right? That's, at the end of the day, that's why you deploy a carrier battle group, is to manage a trade route. So there's a lot anyway. So I think this is like, it seems to be clear that they're making an attempt to have an overt Monroe doctrine instead of this covert one where you got gangs that are handled by the banking / CIA / Wall Street mafia that are covertly run by the US now to be in overtly the security guarantee for the Western Hemisphere will be run by the US military. That's what appears to be happening. There's more to that, but that's the best way I could describe it. That's mostly for Wendell. Did I say anything that, I said a lot, but anything that just stood out as incorrect that you heard?
No.
Okay.
It's a fair assessment. And you got to realize these third world countries like Venezuela, your criminal element is the government. They're one and the same.
Yeah, exactly. The governments are really just cover for all these gangs or criminal elements that operate as their own judge, jury, executioner, military, judicial system, total gangland politics in your face. But that's not conducive to having a stable manufacturing based civilization, right? So people are all, think the unions and how everyone's vying for turf and like getting their percentage and their cuts, and you need to kind of centralize it through the government to give, and that's what a security guarantee really is, or what U.S. military security really provides, is it does not allow for elements like this to take over control over governments. So we're basically doing hard takeovers of South America and Central America, because if we didn't, then the other great powers would.
Well, one thing I thought everyone is not looking at is, and I was reading about this, is what is something that Venezuela got involved with during the election, during the 2020 election, where they're investigating them?
So I have this letter here from that guy, from that general that he was talking about. I don't know if I want to read it. It's kind of a lot. I'll read the part about the elections.
Yeah.
What I'm surprised is that, so the Amazon is also a huge contributory, and there's a lot of drug trade going through there too. Are they also blocking Brazil, where on the northeast, where it drops out into the ocean, the Amazon River? Because that's also another way to get all that stuff out too, from Colombia and everywhere else, and just kind of boat it all out. It's a long trip, but maybe safer than going out Venezuela right now.
So I have the letter here. I'm going to kind of skim through it, just kind of hit the main points, like 2 pages. I could throw it on screen if you want. I don't know if you'll be able to read it. You want me to do that, or?
Go for it, man. Go for it.
Yeah. A little rough there.
Yeah. Why don't you put it down and just read it?
All right. So this is that letter from Hugo Carvajal Barrios, or Hugo Barrios. It says, "Dear Mr. President Trump, people of the United States, my name is Hugo Barrios. For many years, as a high-ranking member of the Venezuelan regime, I was a 3-star general trusted by both Hugo Chavez and Nicolas Maduro, and served as director of military intelligence and deputy in the National Assembly. Today, I sit in American prison because I voluntarily pled guilty to the crimes charged against me in narco-terrorism conspiracy. I write to atone by telling the full truth. The United States can protect itself from the dangers I witnessed for so many years. I publicly broke with the Maduro regime in 2017 and fled my country, knowing that I faced criminal charges in the United States. In doing so, I became their enemy. Knowing the risks, I acted with the strongest conviction to dismantle Maduro's criminal regime and bring freedom to my country. Today, I see the need to address the American people about the reality of what the Venezuelan regime truly is, and why President Trump's policies are not only correct, but absolutely necessary to the United States national security. 1, narco-terrorism. I personally witnessed the government become a criminal organization. It always was, but whatever. Nicolas Maduro, Diosdado Cabello, and other senior regime officials. The purpose of this organization, now known as the Cartel of the Suns, is to weaponize drugs against the United States, drugs that reach your cities from new routes. were not accidents of corruption or just works of independent traffickers. They were deliberate policies coordinated by the Venezuelan government against the United States. This plan was suggested by the Cuban regime to Chavez in the mid-2000s and has been successfully executed with the help from FARC, ELN, Cuban operatives, and Hezbollah. So, yeah, Cuba and Venezuela are like this. So they operate pretty much in tandem together, always have since, I mean, well, maybe not always, but that really got or when Castro secured his regime, it definitely started taking off after that.
Back in the 60s,
I thought it was 50s.
Fitzer.
I don't know exactly when it happened, but I can tell you that, I mean, once Cuba secured its regime, then that's Venezuela kind of drafted off of that. Since they had the security of being on an island, it was a little, and the CIA was infiltrated all of it. And so they just allowed that to happen. So like that we could have taken Cuba if we really wanted to. I think they fumbled that whole thing on purpose and exposed that so that it was politically impossible to do so. And I just assumed that they were managing their assets instead, because I mean, there's no reason we couldn't have taken Cuba. If it was that big of a security threat, we could have taken it.
Well, the problem we had was the Russians were pretty much against it, and Kennedy really wanted to go in and do it, didn't really want to do it, and that's part of the reason they probably ended up killing him because of that.
I guess, but it's not so much a bit like a president doesn't make that kind of a decision. This has to be done. The five families need to gather together to make to like, you know, bless an action like that in the United States. Like that has to have pretty much everyone has to be on board with doing something like that. And I think elements in the United States were, I mean, what we call globalists or internationalists today. I mean, their vision for what the United States was going to be was opposite of the Monroe Doctrine. It was more of, we are an engine to provide security guarantee for the global economy, to facilitate trade routes that are Eurocentric in nature. That's the Atlanticist doctrine. So I don't know, but yeah, you're partially correct. I think there were deeper. I think it was more. I think definitely Kennedy wanted to have a detente with the Russians. I think that is why they ultimately killed him, for sure. And we've talked about that during the assassination thing that I did. There's so much evidence for that. I mean, Gorbachev flat out, basically almost said it in a Charlie Rose interview that's what he didn't say that they killed him for it. But he basically said that I mean, he kind of confirmed that's what was going to happen. So,
yeah.
Anyway, and then if you look at the treaty, the proposal they're putting out together now everyone's talking about a Bering Strait tunnel. You know, I mean, if you really want to have your sovereignty, is if there's a faction that controls the United States, really wants the United States to be a sovereign nation in a multipolar system, the logical thing to make that happen would be to link up with Russia. There's really no other way we could do it. That would be the only way to effectively have an estuary or a buffer between us and the Chinese, is to run a trade, run a railroad through Siberia to the Dakotas, to the mainland. And then Alberta is talking about separating, which provides that trade route linkage down to the United States, down to the northern hemisphere, across the northern hemisphere, secure South America. And then you got a pretty much 100% secure Monroe Doctrine enacted. And then we all live in peace for 1,000 years or whatever. I don't know which.
There's no peace.
I know.
The United States
I can't even be in peace at home.
Well, it's because estrogen is in your house. Bering Strait Tunnel would be the longest tunnel in the world. 70 miles plus.
That we know of. I mean,
cost $8 billion to build, which is not even enough to build a railroad in California. But
with Gavin Newsom at the helm, it could cost it multi-trillion dollars.
So there's a little more here. Tren de Aragua. I was present when decisions were made to organize and weaponize criminal gangs across Venezuela to protect the regime, among them known as Tren de Aragua. Chavez ordered the recruitment of criminal leaders inside and outside prisons to defend the revolution in exchange for impunity. That's what you do. It's what Soviets did that. Chinese have done that. I mean, every gangster run country has done this. You get the most vicious, tough enforcers. You say, all right, we either lock you up or kill you, or you come work for us.
It's kind of like we'll make them an offer you can't refuse.
Counterintelligence, espionage. We were instructed to send thousands of members out of the country, and that was coordinated through Ministry of Interior, Ministry of Prisons, and the National Guard and the National Police Force. Tren de Aragua became the most effective and fastest growing during the open border policy. Became widely known. We actively sent them up, financed their operations, and they were told to continue, kidnapping, extorting, killing, just, basically sow chaos and then create, overwhelm police forces so they can come in and do whatever else. When everyone's busy, then you can do a lot more. When the criminal elements realize no one is watching the store, a lot of chaos can ensue. Counterintelligence, espionage against the United States. Russian intelligence came to Caracas to propose to Hugo Chavez the tapping of his submarine internet cables that connect most of South America and the Caribbean islands with the United States for the purpose of penetrating U.S. government communications. I warned Maduro that if you allowed Russian intelligence to build a listening post on La Orquilla Island, would one day invite American bombs. He ignored me for 20 years. The Venezuelan regime sent spies into your country. Many are still there. Some disguised as members of the Venezuelan opposition. Cuban intelligence show me their networks inside your naval bases on the East Coast. They bragged about having sent thousands of spies over decades. Now some career politicians. U.S. diplomats and CIA officers were paid to assist Chavez and Maduro in remaining in power. These Americans acted as spies for Cuba and Venezuela, and some remain active to this day. All right, finally, Smartmatic in your election. Smartmatic was born as an electoral tool of the Venezuelan government and soon derived into a tool to keep the regime, to help the regime stay in power. I know this because I placed the head of IT of the National Elections Council in his position, and he reported directly to me. The Smartmatic system can be altered. This is a fact. This technology was later exported abroad, including the United States. Regime operatives maintain relations with election officials and voting machine companies inside your country. I do not claim that every election is stolen, but I state with certainty that elections can be rigged with the software and have been used to do so. And Patrick said off record that they've been doing this. Well, he said that he asked him, how long has this been going on? And he said to him and Flynn that we've been doing this for 20 years. So that's the long and short of it. Is that really what's happening? Is this a limited hangout? Is this a psyop? Could be. I have a hard time with, the idea that if we go and take out, the only thing that you could go into Venezuela for, I don't think you could stop election fraud because it's not them, only them it's not just the Venezuelans that have access to our systems at this point. That's just absurd to me. But they could provide evidence and a proper scapegoat to politically do certain things now if that came to light. Say they get that, who's that lady that won the Nobel Peace Prize that Maduro canceled the election in Venezuela? I think the idea is they want to put her in and she'll turn state's evidence and basically open the books and show them everything that happened and make it go public. They already know if anything happened, they know what happened. Now they just need evidence for legal purposes and public opinion.
Yeah, they're building the case for the regime change.
Yeah, the question is just whether or not this is total BS. I don't know. I would suspect not. Maybe not all of it's correct, but it's generally in the right direction. Given its geographical location, it makes sense to me.
Yeah. There's going to be a certain amount of smokescreen involved in it. You're just going to have to wait and see how it all falls out and see what the evidence is afterwards. But I don't think Trump's going to be happy until he changes out the regime down there in Venezuela. It's inevitable.
Well, there's already I was reading this morning. There's starting to be some gunfire down there. Supposedly it's rebel forces, but who's sanctioning it? And then the false flag stuff is starting to come true too. Everyone was talking about, there's going to be false flags down in Venezuela. That's all coming true. They're starting to blow their own crap up. Have you read about that?
Well, that, or they're cutting deals with certain people inside. I mean, when you're breaking down a criminal network, it's always like whoever flips first and has, intrinsic power usually gets the best deal. You got a bunch of capos down there that are all wondering and looking at each other like, okay, do I trust you? Like, are you gonna, who's gonna roll first? And obviously someone will. There's
It's a
no way
chess
they have
game.
that tight of a grip on everybody.
It's a chess game, and each player is trying to figure out how they're going to outmaneuver the other players on this board, and who's going to be attacking them, who's not. And so they're trying to figure all this stuff out. Plus, how can I get the most out of this American deal? Is the president going to make it, or I'm going to be going with the American deal so that I can have the most secure here down, and that I can utilize whatever trafficking I want to? Because, hey, they're going to have someone. Not going to take all of the regimes out and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So that's a long, yeah, but go ahead, Wendell.
You also got to look at it too. We were stirring things up in Iran, 25, 30 years ago. We were talking about being in support of a regime change. There was uprisings. And then we never came through and did anything. And a lot of people got left out. They got left hanging out to dry, and
so we've talked about
didn't
that.
go very well.
That was
So,
Operation Ajax. We ran that regime change. Like that was like we got rid of the Shah. That was U.S. State Department, CIA. That was intelligence. The blob, whatever it is,
Yeah.
Then was it Ayatollah Khomeini? Is that what it is? How did he get in control?
We put him in there. We opened up the city gates for him to come in and do it. The Shah. I mean, it's all laid out in Operation Ajax. There's been plenty of books written about it. We
created the vacuum for him to exist in, and he stepped up and took the reins.
Yeah.
Things don't always go well when we meddle in a third world country trying to effect a regime change. So I'm sure there's a lot of people down there in Venezuela that are going to be very reluctant about, do I want to, do I take the chance or do I wait and see? So.
Well, it's like I was listening to this priest talk about the Vatican, and he's like, oh no, it was Glenn Beck. He was talking about how he went to visit the Vatican, and he was sitting with some priests there, and he was kind of, they're telling him how it worked and whatever. And then he said he felt this chill come over him, and he saw this guy come in, and he's like, oh my God, who is that? And then the guy sitting with him, he's like, oh, you felt that too? Yeah, that's the opposition. And which is kind of funny, but at the same time, it's to any of these gigantic and powerful institutions. There's not one faction running the whole. I mean, there's infighting all the time of different factions, but to me, there does seem to be an overarching pattern. And that's what people call the deep state, the proverbial deep state of this faction that seems to have its tendrils in almost every major institution throughout the Western world, and arguably in China and Russia, possibly as well. Like who knows? Like, literally like James Bond. What's that? What was it? That criminal cartel, Spectre. Yeah, like the literal Spectre. Because they all operate to the same ends. Like they're aiming. I mean, whenever their actions are consolidation or destabilization in order to reconsolidate for a more global, for the financialist banking system, then they're probably working for that system, whether they know it or not. Because most of people don't. Most people would never put that together. Most people don't know how the financial system works.
And it's built that way.
On purpose.
Why would you want to give their best kept secret? Yeah. If we could figure out how to infiltrate that and utilize it for our best interest, we would be smarter than them somehow.
Well, you don't
some
really
way.
want to, because it functions on basically having covert people, like agents, in every single institution throughout the world. It's like a global management software system, and people are the software, but software is the software at this point. And that's really, I think, a lot of what the AI thing pushes for. It's like, what model of centralization are we going to go for? And I think the responsibles are the people that realize how things actually work, understand that you can't centralize the whole world. Like, effectively, it'll never work. Like, until you turn everyone into this, have the same mythology, the same religion, the same outlook on life. I mean, you're just, it's never going to be manageable. And that's kind of what I think they've been trying to do post World War II, is institute a global management system, and it's just falling apart. But they're never going to give up. They've committed too many crimes at this point.
Yeah.
Well, that's probably why George Soros doesn't give up, is because the only way to keep from going to jail is to keep it up.
Yeah, it's war. It's absolutely, and and there's most likely not going to be quarter given at the end of this to certain people. So
the victors go to spoils, man, every time. And just ask the Nazis. They were victorious and nothing happened. When they lost their ass, they all went to jail and got killed.
Well,
But
Yeah,
they deserved it.
And the victors are the ones that write history.
you ever hear of, goodness, what's his name? He was like he was a communist agent, Whitaker Chambers. You remember that guy? So this was back in the post-Roosevelt 60s, no 50s is when these hearings were going on. Whitaker Chambers was a communist agent that basically flipped, and he went and he kind of showed how the networks worked, and basically exposed how Alger Hiss, who is like one of the top guys, like he was at Yalta, he ran, like, which is the conference between the famous photo of FDR, Churchill, and Stalin, was the conference at Yalta. And that was basically to decide what the post-war world would look like. The lines were driven, and that was just kind of like the official stamp of the maps of, like, okay, you take this, we'll take this, and yada, yada, And Hiss was Whitaker basically exposed the fact that Hiss was a communist agent of the KGB. And it just goes to, he and William and Buckley, which, I have some problems with Buckley. I mean, none of these guys were perfect by any means, but that whole, what was his name? Who was the guy, the Senator McCarthy? Everyone said McCarthyism. Everyone cried McCarthyism. Like, you're a conspiracy theorist. Like, you're seeing commies like in the closets. It was an overreaction to go after just innocent students or professors, right? People don't understand how rampant and open communists operated in this country back into you could argue back in the 1800s. I mean, they, in a sense, they're kind of like, it's really like the offshoot of the French Revolution that crept into our culture over here, mostly in the WASP class and the high academics. But then it kind of got transmuted into this labor or pro-labor idea, especially with the big barons and the Industrial Revolution and all the wealth that was being created out of, like, just thin air, seemingly. Communism was it may not have always been called that, but it was in the blood work of the United States. And that's partly why they were so scared of it. And guys like, oh goodness, Patton, were like, we were fighting the wrong enemy, because this is going to come back and bite us in the ass if we don't move on the Russians and, consolidate our gains now. McCarthy made that argument.
When he was the governor of Germany, he said, give me 2 units and we'll go into, or 2 divisions, and we'll end this shit now.
Yeah, and then he died in a motor car accident a few years later.
No, months.
Was it just months? Okay.
Months later.
Yeah.
Because he died in what? He died in 45, so.
Yeah. And one other thing that's interesting about him is he would have been the guy to get all the field reports of everything the Allies were finding when they were going through German bases. Think Nazi high technology manufacturing, all that kind of stuff. So he was seeing all the field reports. And he was like one of the few people in the Allied forces that would have seen it all, that would have been decompartmentalized. So he got exposed to a lot of information that I think they could not allow him to continue. I think that played a part into why they killed him.
Killed Patton?
Yeah.
Thought he died in a car accident.
For what reason?
I mean,
That's
it's
the answer Colin's trying to
there's a
get
lot
to.
of weirdness about it. If you look into the whole
Hmm.
thing, it's just too convenient. It's one of those things. It's like, I don't think so. It just doesn't, it just does not ring that, oh yeah, that was all it was. It was just an oopsies. It was just the timing of it was so weird, and it just came out of nowhere, and there was really no looking into it either.
Could you imagine if Patton did do that? 2 divisions went into
Berlin.
Would have gone into West or East Germany?
Yeah, and then rolled right in. Right, what would have happened? What would this world be like?
Well, they would have
Going
stopped at the
into-
border of Ukraine. They wouldn't have. I mean, I don't think their argument was to go into the bloodlands. I think they would have. I think honestly, all those guys, as aggressive as they were, if they saw what our guys were talking about, how we're going to have a war in the bloodlands with the Russians, I think they would be like cussing them out every 2 ways. Like, are you effing crazy? Like, that's where empires go there to die for a reason for thousands of years. Like, it's a terrible. It's really, and there's very obvious reasons for that, but that's besides the point. Anyway, I got sidetracked. Sorry.
You got sidetracked?
The communists, yeah, communists. So Alger Hiss was like right there with FDR at Yalta. He was a top State Department guy. Whitaker Chambers comes out, proves that he's a communist agent, and that's just an example of one of the top guys in FDR's administration that was communist. And what did they do? They overarmed Stalin. You hear Tucker Carlson starting to talk about this. He's like, we overarmed Stalin. We had communists, everywhere. Like, even those guys are starting to talk, because people are starting to go like, why are we in this position that we're in? You kind of have to go back. It kind of was from that initial infiltration that was allowed to happen. And our counterintelligence seems to have allowed it all to happen. Everyone knew it. It wasn't a secret. It just was embarrassing, and people were culturally, spiritually amenable to a global system. And in their mind, the Russian system was a means to an end. It's not that the Russians would physically take over. The communist revolution is not about nation states. For the low-level ideologues, they can buy into that. For the high-level guys that are pulling the strings, it's like it's cheap funding. You just got to allocate resources appropriately and promote people appropriately. It's an easy system of resentfuls to manage, relatively speaking, from a global. It's a great operating system to run a global system out of, because you can get a bunch of stupid people to be ideologues of it and follow orders for the revolution. But it's not about the revolution. It's about a global management system. You see what I mean? Like, they're never going to get their workers' paradise. And the guys that run it know that. So, point being, we got infiltrated a long time ago. And I think in the way that we had our intelligence services kind of just running rogue in the State Department, doing whatever the hell it wants, answering to different masters, totally behind closed doors. No one knows really what the long-term strategy has been or is. Like, no one really knows what these people are up to or what they've been doing. I'm just saying the system exists, but for the responsibles that want to build a manufacturing system that is pro-growth, meaning more pro-human, like, we need more people, we need to take care of our populations. We can't just squeeze people like blood from a stone forever and expect this not to come back and blow back on us eventually. Like, even if you're a evil, cynical SOB, you still should be smart enough to know that you can't abuse the slaves too much, because that stuff will roll back on you hard, especially in the age of information when all this stuff's coming out. That was like, yeah.
Just ask Gavin Newsom how the abusing the slaves is working for him.
Well, pretty well, because you get a bunch of estrogens love being abused. They love, so beat me more, daddy.
Yeah. Yes, sir. May I have another?
Yeah.
Yes, sir. May I have? Yeah.
And there's no limit to that. They will take all there is no level, there's no bottom to their self-flagellation. So that's the scary part. Some people at this point are so demoralized, they're fine just, totally just, I die. Life becomes meaningless at a certain point when societies become this depraved. I mean, I've seen that go like a rocket ship in my lifetime. The amount of cynical nihilism that's just everywhere. Nothing matters. Anyway, I'm talking a lot. Wendell, somebody.
Well, I don't really have anything on that. My mind went to Daniel chapter 2, where it talks about the 10 toes. Do you guys remember that? Where the Nebuchadnezzar had this dream, and that dream, it's like, okay, head of gold, and then went all the way down to the 10 toes. And the 10 toes were iron and clay. So it's weak and brittle, right? And so it's been a weak and brittle ever since the chests and the legs, the 10 kingdoms that were trying to rule the world and all that kind of stuff, which could be Spain, France, England, Scotland, Denmark, Sweden, Hungary, Italy. I don't know if we can throw in United States as one of those, because it's 10 toes and there's 10 kingdoms. I don't know, is it old, new kingdoms?
Can I throw something in there?
You can throw something.
You throw something? No.
It means that, but it could mean that, like, we're thinking specific nation states. It also has a very deeper, like a very old esoteric mysticism meaning. So yeah, the golden age, the Trade Yuga, silver, you've probably encountered this, and you got the Iron Age, Kali Yuga. And this is like a very old Hindu, or it's not even Hindu, it's older than that, but no one knows how old this is, but it's this observation of the distribution of time over, I think this epoch lasts, 80 to 100,000 years, or the cycles. I can't remember. It's a crazy amount it's a crazy long time, and it depends who you're talking to. But all the mystery school traditions that I'm aware of all agree that we've been in the Kali Yuga for a very long time. The Iron Age, which, I mean, like, basically our modern history is, and it's got more to do with human consciousness, and there's different ways to look at this, and I'm not sure that's all. Like, there's certainly more to it, and I'm not trying to make it Eastern, but I'm saying that I also think that there's a possibility that, because gold, silver, bronze, and iron are very, those are the primary metals of the ancient world, right?
But it's missing the feet, because you have the gold head, arms of silver, belly and thighs of bronze, legs of iron, and then feet mixture of iron and baked clay. So that whole circle is missing one part.
You're right. Yeah, no, that's true. I just also wonder if it was a vision of a deeper archetypal memory of humanity, of a cycle of things to come and things that are, like, because these cycles happen in microcosms and macrocosms as well. You could argue that the fall of the second temple was Armageddon, for them, or for certain people, or World War II was Armageddon, and then you have your, the fourth turning, then you've got your, your high, your descent, your crescendo, or your descent, your not the crescendo, the low point, the crisis, then the ascent, then the high point. So it's like golden age, bronze, iron, silver, gold, something like that. But the sine wave of, good times make weak men make bad times make good men.
Yeah, that's the turning. That's what we named our podcast after.
It
Yeah,
could
so
also
the
mean
brittle
that,
and
but I
most
don't know, because I've heard that for years. Everyone's guessing what kingdoms are we talking about.
yeah.
It depends what age
But
you're living in.
but here it is. If we look at what this time is, everything is brittle. I mean, it's chaos. It's getting worse and worse. Yeah, nobody really wants to work with anybody. Everybody is turning on somebody. It's kind of a
What
chaotic
was it?
place.
Who was it that was shot at today? What's that skater guy? I can't remember his name. He has the stocking
Tim
cap.
Pool.
Tim Pool his house got shot at today, this morning.
Yeah, they've had all kinds of crazy stuff happen to them over the last 8 years almost. It's been nuts. It's only escalated. Yeah, I
How
mean,
does
it
Tim
doesn't.
Pool pop in all this?
Well, it's just,
How does the Tim Pool
civil
fit in this?
unrest. It's like all
He's
these-
a political activist. I mean, he's like Joe Rogan for the right kind of type. Go ahead, Cody. Sorry.
Well, I'm just using it as a sign of a lot of the people on our side are getting shot at. Like Tucker Carlson's gotten shot at recently. A lot of these, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah. Then you get the rise of Nick Fuentes. Like, I cannot tell you how many guys.
What is this Nick Fuentes?
Dude, it's
thing?
it's unbelievable. It clearly is being pushed. Like at this point, to me, I was thinking Nick, like after Jan 6 would just kind of peter out and go, and the Groypers would go away. And I was wrong. They came back in force, and I didn't realize how. I mean, he is being allowed to be pushed so hard right now, but it's weird because you see people on the right are almost putting him up on a pedestal that are supposed to be like good guy. Like, and I'm fine with, having interviews, but it's weird when it's like everyone's having an interview with Nick Fuentes all of a sudden. Why? Like, why is it all like happening at the same time? Like, if it was really about free discussion, wouldn't you just book him? When I guess if he's going on a tour, you could say, well, it's just for convenience. And, if he's going to be traveling for a while, fine. But he's kind of an edgelord. He talks about how the Nazis were not the bad guys and yada, yada, it's.
Yeah, he said some pretty stupid stuff about.
And he basically is just kind of edgelording and says that, basically puts everything at the feet of the Jews as the Jewish mafia that runs everything in the world. And I cannot tell you how many young guys I've run into, and they all believe that. It's really crazy. And there is a Jewish mafia for sure. But to think that it's just them is insane. Like,
I mean, those guys that were digging the tunnels around New York?
No, I mean, they might be mobbed up in a certain way, but no, those.
That was crazy when they were pulling the people out of the walls.
I have no idea what that was all about. That was but in times like E.M. Burlingame, that guy I talk about a lot, he always, like, whenever you have a crisis or something like this, or you have a fall or transition of power, you need a scapegoat, and the Jews tend to be the eternal scapegoat of just, they're always, they're given, their high level managers are given positions of power within the proverbial court. You have what they called the court Jew, and he basically had access to the international banking system because it was illegal for Catholics to bank that way. It wasn't for Jews. It was really like, that's what it was about. It was access to banking and debt. And it was an international banking system that interoperated between the different big clearinghouses around Europe and the world. They're not even like, and the idea that, and you get married into it, and that they're a specific bloodline that goes back to the 12 tribes of Israel, is no one has access to that genealogy, or that you cannot prove. There is no evidence to suggest that anyone has any DNA evidence that goes back specifically to those 12 tribes. No one can find it. And if they have it, they're hiding it. So I don't know. I just saying, I have never seen evidence for that. And I'm not saying they didn't exist. I'm just saying that to assume that everyone that calls themselves a Jew goes back to those 12 tribes is absolutely crazy. First off, it's flat out on its face, just not true. You just have to know how it works. Most of them get married in. Most of them are out of Europe. A lot of them are Turks, actually, funny enough.
I didn't even know that.
Turks. Yeah. A lot come from Turkey. because that's kind of where a lot of this kind of got ramped up. And you got to remember, like, the Babylonian, the captivity in Babylon, it wasn't so much as a captivity as it was they took, the intellectuals, trained them up in the Babylonian system, and then basically used them as agents. And I just think that's never stopped. I just think it's just kept going on and on and on. That same system has been in place. I mean, someone had to do it first.
The Dutch.
Well, the Dutch inherited, like, they kind of had preeminence over it.
I'm just saying that we have to throw in Dutch bankers in every episode. So,
well, you have to now. I'm kind of over it, and you can if you want.
Just saying.
No, it is kind of a good luck charm at this point.
Yeah, I mean, if we talk about Dutch bankers in Vienna, we're doing pretty good.
Yeah, but that's the golden thread. Is banking, the banking system is how it works, where it started. Or else none of this makes sense.
Like to know what the Swiss bankers are still hiding.
But the Swiss bankers are the Dutch bankers.
They're tied to the same system. They're I mean, it's Rome, basically. I mean, the Swiss Guard that started from, an alliance and basically Swiss families that got plugged into the Vatican system, and Switzerland has always been the neutral country, although that's now changed. They are now basically positioning themselves to be combatants in this next world war first in a while.
That is bizarre, isn't it? That the Swiss are coming out. They've been neutral for well, that's true. Yeah.
It's Rome.
They're not even part of is the Swiss even part of the European Union? Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, but the EU is a complicated, like, it's not, it's like a paper agreement. They never consolidated their debt. They never tied their ships together. When you go and you buy bonds, you go over there, you have to buy from Denmark, you have to buy from Germany, France. They've never consolidated everything, but in order to keep their currency afloat, they kind of all have to hold each other's currencies. So it's a de facto currency block. But as soon as one of those banks starts failing, or that's why, remember the Greek panic, or when Greece almost failed?
Oh, yeah, because they
and then they were like, well, crap, if we don't do something now, the whole system's going to fall apart. So German banks had the most collateral in capital at the time, and they stepped in and made it solvent, at least for a restructuring.
The Swiss are not in the EU.
You know what? You're right. They still operate on the Swiss franc.
Yeah,
thought so. And Switzerland participates in the EU rules of funds, projects to strengthen its economic, but voters have rejected joining the bloc in referendums, preferring this bilateral approach to membership.
Yeah, that makes sense.
They're part of the Schengen, Schengen area, allowing for passport-free travel. Interesting.
Yeah, that's why I assumed, because I had gone to Switzerland and they're just like, there's no passport required. You can just walk through. So, I mean, they'll ask you for it if you get, like, they have some checkpoints, but if you go through a train station, but if you just driving through, there's no, like, and you're not asked for your passport everywhere. Although who knows today? Anyway, but yeah, that makes sense, because I mean, they're a part of the shadow banking system too. They got all their, holding houses and trust funds, and, all the movies with Swiss bearer bonds and that whole thing. And I mean, but the shadow banking system is kind of that's the trouble, because they've kind of consolidated almost everything, and it's not anyone can just get access to that system. The Spider's Web is a great documentary on that. It's on YouTube. I keep recommending it, but eventually one of you will watch it.
Okay. Come here. Let's see. I'll put it in my things to do list on YouTube.
The Spider's Web, Britain's Second Empire.
Remember if I watched it or not. It's free on Amazon Prime and Tubi.
Yeah, it should be on YouTube for free too.
Spiders.
Yeah, it's like
I
a.
can't remember if I watched it a couple months ago or not.
I've recommended it a few times. You might have. It's one of those things you got to watch a
I know
couple
where
of
I've heard
times.
it's a No Doubt song too. I knew I'd heard it from somewhere.
Type in Spider's Web, Britain's Second Empire.
Oh, I know. I see it right here.
Is the full thing on there?
An hour and 18 minutes.
Yep, that's it.
Yep, I've watched it.
Do you remember?
I haven't watched
anything,
it.
or
I'm sorry, Colin. I
I would
haven't
have
watched it.
to look at it a little bit to
I had to watch it a couple of times.
refresh.
It's kind of a lot to take in, but it's all right there. It's not a conspiracy theory. It's right in your face. That's how it works. It's just shocking when you see how open it is. You're like, wow, it really is just out in the open. Just no one's taught to look at it that way.
Ah, yes. Now it's all coming back. Yeah.
The Cayman Islands, offshore banking system, the trusts, how that all works, and how
How
blind
America had
trust.
theirs, British had theirs. Yeah.
Yeah, but they all interoperate, and it's a whole shadow banking system, and you can't, like, it is the Vatican. You cannot go in unless invited. Like, it's just so, or not the Vatican. I don't know. It's like, it's high
The vaults of
church.
the Vatican.
No, it's like high church for the, like, elite of elite of elite, like you, or the most criminal and criminal, like, and that's really how the criminal elements around the world operate, is through these shadow banking systems, which are all pretty much managed by British entities. Think British
You got
intelligence.
to have your slush fund out there to pay for things that can't be talked about.
Yeah, that's how Hunter Biden did his drug thing, right? Slush funds.
Yeah. Yeah.
Got a little nose
And
candy.
they found a powdery substance in the White House, and nobody knows how it got there.
Belongs to.
Yeah.
They all do cocaine.
The most unsecure place in the world.
They can tell you what spider farted at what time, but they don't know where the cocaine came from.
Yeah, they know. They know everything. They just annoying.
That's the reason Trump tore down that wing of the White House, is because they need to have better security. I'm telling you.
Well, he's been doing remodels in the White House forever. Like, they've been gutting that whole place since his first administration. But
I like the where they have all the president's pictures going down the hallway there,
Yeah,
and then they
that's
have
funny.
the auto pen. It's like,
yeah, that flex. It's very funny.
they show Trump, auto pen Trump.
Very funny. So I don't know. We're gonna find out. I think.
What is your thoughts on this, Wendell? You know, being that your background was in intelligence and all that stuff, what is your take?
Specifically on.
Well, what are your thoughts on what we've been talking about?
The overall premise of how the system works, is that how it works? Most people don't, more or less. Obviously, there's
Yeah, absolutely. There's you got to have ways to move money around that's not traceable. So there's a lot of operations that have to be funded, have to be paid for, and you got to have some way to fund it. So, if you go back and look, you guys ever watch Charlie Wilson's War?
Oh, I love that movie.
I mean,
if you have a carrier group over here on one hand, you can, and section entry on the other, you can park this carrier group anywhere you want.
Yeah. We were moving money around, buying weapons for have them sent into Afghanistan. Gotta have ways to move that stuff. And it can't be traced. So.
And then the problem is, it's gotten so pervasive, like in Texas here. I mean, we're pretty much, the whole state is openly, like, it's getting to the point where it's like, the corruption is so bad here. It's pretty much everyone is mobbed up at this point that survives. Yeah, it's bad.
What's your mob connection?
I'm not. I didn't survive. I'm out.
So when you say mobbed up, you mean like the political parties act as a mob, or what
I
are we
mean,
talking
yeah,
about?
kind of, but also like, but they all have their backers and like, I mean, Texas oil money is famous down here. Like it literally was like the Texas oil mafia, I mean, that still exists big time, but they're kind of a part of the overall, but I was thinking that maybe those oil baron, or not because oil's not the huge thing, but all that capital got reinvested in other places over the years. But that old family money of those old Texas families, that's still around. They haven't squandered all of it yet, but I was thinking that a lot of those families were trying to make a run at taking back Texas. And there's a couple, the Wilkes and Dunns are one, but they're linked up with like, I mean, they're riddled with Mossad at this point. I mean, they're just out in the open. It's not even like, yeah, Adelson is all over the place down here now, throwing money around, which honestly, I don't know if that, what's her name? Something Adelson. She gave like Trump like $1 billion. Her husband was like, I mean, she's like she's Israeli. Their family is an Israeli interest backer, basically. One of the largest in the country. A lot of casinos, stuff like that. Casinos, real estate.
That's some good money right there.
Yeah, so they're the Jewish mafia that I was talking about. They're a part of that. So, I mean, I mean, you can't just get rid of those guys. They have so much money, and they fund all, like, I don't know what you do. There's no money in this unless you're corrupt. So if you don't even have to be that corrupt to get some money. You just got to, I mean, at the local level, you just let the single, because there tends to be one major developer in the city or township that you're working in. You just make sure they, you take 20,000 for a campaign, and it's just implied that you're going to give them preferential treatment, and they have all the ends at city council and the lawyers anyway. And it's just how it works. It's not even illegal. It's not illegal. It's just how it works. So
I need to go find a land developer and become a politician.
Yep. Especially, it depends on where you live and what like the local activity is about. But like where I live, it's all about development, like land development. That's
Hey,
like,
Wendell, do you know where any land developers are around Las Cruces?
I mean, there's probably not a lot.
We're gonna have to look into this because I want to get 20. I need 20. I could really use 20 grand right now, man. I'm just saying. Yeah.
Or it's the people that keep the roads up, construction, all that kind of stuff. That's huge.
Yeah.
Yeah. New Mexico is so corrupt with that.
Whoever
crap.
has the big contracts that are decided by the zoning, planning, and rubber stamped by the city council, however the local system works. I mean, that's who gets people elected. Period. And because I mean, the turnout for those races are 10, 20,000. My point being, I don't know exactly how this autocorrects, even over time. I just don't, unless the people at the top come up with a new business model that doesn't involve killing half the population. Which, fingers crossed on that one.
Yeah. So, change the topic real quick. There was a reason we were what are the last podcast? Was it this one or the one before where we're talking about the Charlie Kirk assassination?
I think
2 or 3 back.
We've talked about them pretty much every time.
Well,
but in depth, like a couple weeks ago, like 2 or 3 times ago. Yeah.
That's the reason I asked Wendell to come on. I thought we would talk for a little bit about general stuff, but wanted to see what his impression on you just got done building a sporterized, Mauser?
Yeah. Mauser 98.
Yeah, we're going to put a video up here in the next week or so about that. Him talking about how it's all done with the sporterized rifle. And I just wanted to, and you're also a hunter. So what, you understand how bullets hitting bone react and all that stuff. So, have you heard anything new about the assassination, Colin?
Nothing that makes anything more clear. It's more obfuscation and look over here. You know, I don't think I think the way the news cycle is, I think this is unfortunately going to be swallowed into history. I just don't think this is going to come out. I think it's just going to be one of those things that we just
JFK.
Well, what, like every year we talk about it on the anniversary and then we kind of let it go away.
I honestly, at this point, I don't even think it's going to be that profound. I mean, because think about everything that goes on every day, and our attention spans are going down and down and down, and events are going up and up and up, you know? So it's like every day something happens at this point that of note. So I just think people are in total information over absorption.
Well, the thing I was thinking about is that just doesn't make any sense. And I think Wendell can back this up is how the hell did he get that gun off that right? How the hell did he get did he pre-stage all this stuff? That's the thing I'm trying to figure out.
They have footage of him dropping the gun in a gutter or something they don't show the footage of him taking the shot on the roof. So we still don't know that's exactly what happened. Even if they did, at this point, enough time has gone by. There's been plenty of time to get good doctored film put together. So it's like, that's the annoying part about this. The time for disclosure would have been everyone get that footage out like immediately. Now it's like, that's why, like, what is it, 48 hours or what is it, 72 or 74 or whatever that show is. It's like, you know, you have only like 3 days before a case goes cold on a murder.
First 48.
First
That's a
48
great TV
yeah,
show.
48.
I mean, that's kind of it's first 48 for a reason. Things start getting cold quick.
I think he pre-staged this shooting area. There was no way he took that up there in the backpack from the video footage that I saw of him. So I think he already had it up there. He already had he had already been there. He knew where he wanted to be. You know, he had already staged everything. He simply walked up there, walked up on the roof, crawled up to the edge, took the rifle, chambered around.
The thing I can't reconcile is there's only about a 4 foot or 5 foot margin on that rooftop that he could be in and get that target window. Because they were saying that if you go 3 or 4 feet further to the left or to the right of where he was set up, how did he know that was the perfect location? How come there's not a lot of footprint? I mean, that's the part that I don't get. And then I do think, what were you saying last night about point of aim, point of impact when we were talking?
Well, yeah. So most people zero a rifle for 100 yards. The shot was made at 154, 155 yards. So if he was aiming, I think he was aiming for a headshot and did not take into account that he would have bullet drop because of that distance. And that's why the round hit him in the neck instead of in the head.
So you think that a 30-06 hit him in the neck and stayed inside his body?
It's entirely possible. I mean, if he was using your most popular round in the 30-06 is going to be a 150 grain bullet. 2,900 feet per second is pretty well industry standard for factory ammo. By the time that round would have traveled 150 yards, it would have already shed 40. It would have already shed over 400 feet per second in velocity. And it would have also dropped about 30% of its energy. And the fact that, I think he was probably trying to make a headshot and the bullet dropped more than he was prepared for it to drop because he was not experienced enough for that length of a shot, or he didn't know what the distance was. So
I have a hard time buying that round just
Well, you got to
ricocheted
understand
around in
bullet
his body and
construction.
didn't exit.
Bullet construction. It's all about the bullet construction. You've got varmint rounds, varmint bullets that are designed to be frangible. You've got target bullets.
Well,
You
that's
got deer
why they
deer
need to,
bullets.
I get that, and then load, and I get all that. Yeah, there's so many different variables of that. That's why until they show me the round, and if the excuse is, well, it exploded in his body and we can't retrieve it, I'm like, it's just convenient, and it's like, okay, well then what round was it? Can you at least reconstruct that with your, superpowers? But they cremated his body like 3 days after this happened, almost. Like they cremated it almost immediately, and
Kirk was
everything.
cremated?
Yeah, he's gone. Yeah, there's no like it's over. Like there's no way to even go back and like do, exhume the body to do a better analysis. They just got rid of it. So I'm like, okay, we'll just take your word. A 30-06 hit him in the neck and didn't exit from 144 yards, which isn't that far. I mean, I hear you. I'm actually surprised that it drops off 400 feet a second. That's actually a lot more than I would have expected of that round at that range.
Now, manufacture ammo for 30-06. Most of your manufacturers out there are not pushing it to. They're keeping 30-06 ammo that your factory ammo is watered down. Okay. The SAMI specification for 30-06 is 62,000 psi. Most of your manufacturers are loading between 58 and 60,000 psi. You can easily push a 150 grain bullet in a 30-06 well over 3,000 feet per second.
Mm-hmm.
The manufacturers are advertising 2,900 feet per second. Part of why they're keeping that 30-06 watered down is if you load it to full capacity, okay, maximum velocity, and some guy walks into the gun store and buys it and he goes and shoots it in his M1 Garand, you're going to mess up the M1 Garand. So, you're talking about, as an ammo manufacturer, do you want to be putting out maximum pressure ammo in a round that's been around since 1906?
No, 100%.
You may have guns that are 110 years old, and you're
going
to push the envelope.
And they do that with almost every round that are like, range rounds or whatever, standard rounds. But you're still talking 2,400 feet a second.
Like, you'll be around 2,400 feet per second, and you're going to be down to about 1,900 foot-pounds of energy.
Yeah, that's a big round, too. That's a big boy.
But a 150 grain bullet, something that's designed for shooting a deer, it's not going to have a lot of sectional density for penetration. It's not designed to. Now, if you take a 180 grain bullet that's designed for shooting an elk, you could probably go through 3 people. It's all about bullet construction. So really, you got to get the slug out. Look at how was the bullet constructed.
It's very possible that that's what happened. And I honestly hope that's all it was, because that's the least, then there's the least question marks involved in it. But the way they've obfuscated this so much on purpose, and we don't get to see any of that, and this was like such a big deal. It's like, okay, do you want us to think it's you? Like, 'cause you're doing a damn good job of making it look like it was you guys. Like, not, you know what I mean? The proverbial them,
Yeah. Very true. If you look how quickly they cleaned up everything related to JFK after the assassination.
Yeah. Same with Charlie.
Throw the body in a casket and run out of town.
Yeah, and the guys that run that state are so mob. They're such criminals that run Utah. It's crazy. Like, they're so crooked.
Yeah. They started tearing the limousine apart 3 days later. It was.
You're talking about JFK?
Yeah, JFK.
Yeah.
And that's just. Yeah. You rush through everything.
I still think it was that was a high table hit. Like, somebody from the high table wanted that done. I don't think that was just some random trainee, or whacked liberal dude. Maybe he was there as a scapegoat, but there's also a window that wasn't covered from that range. You know about that?
Yeah. No.
There was a window right underneath it that was not covered and had no cops on it. I mean, that security guy is the one who said it. The Sean Ryan asked him about that window, and he's like, "Well, we asked if the police had put somebody on it, and they said they basically said affirmative, no problem, we'll have it covered." And they never put anyone on it, and so there's no footage from that area. There's no, I mean, even though there's cameras all over that university, there's no one can see it.
Yeah,
and it was a much more clear line of shot than from that roof.
The thing I thought was interesting is I've heard so many. I've heard not so many. I've heard several former snipers came out and say that was not the place that they would have put themselves because of the exposure.
But it wasn't a hard shot to make either,
unless you had cover and security for your an ideal position.
Yeah,
in place.
You're talking about a kid that grew up in a gun culture family who went shooting. His family was pro-gun. So he obviously had been to the range quite a bit. It's entirely possible he could have made the shot.
It is. I just think all the other evidence
smart
around
enough to
it.
not pick a better shooting position, possibly. That may have been the only place that he could get to without being to pre-stage the shoot without being discovered. But the problem is now it's said and done, and
the thing that got me is they tore up that location. The end of that week, they were tearing that location apart. So, do I think that that rifle like that was used? Yeah. My question is, I keep coming back to, I think Corey Collins on a large thing. I get caught up in the ballistics, the details, all that crap. But I don't think that kid shot him.
It's just because like the details about a false trail become kind of a moot point when the underlying presuppositions that we're making to base that evidence off of are already shady. Like you can't even rely on the baseline of, like you said, I don't think he shot him. It's possible. I just don't. I would, if I had put money on it at this point, I'd say no. But I don't think we'll ever know at this point. I think they've clearly covered it up, and it's really outrageous. But people should be very pissed off.
We're talking about the most publicized shooting in U.S. history. There were so many cameras watching that thing live. And now they're saying, the judge is saying that they're not going to put the trial on the TV. You know, it's like.
Well, first they said that he admitted to doing it. That was like what people were reporting on that, and that's not true. He didn't. It's still up in the air. There's a good chance that this kid, he may walk unless there's evidence that's shown. But then if they have a closed court hearing, then they could just railroad him, and then no one knows.
Yeah.
So
then the truth never gets out. On the flip side, if you box everything up and hide it, nobody's going to know except for the ones that have all the evidence behind closed doors.
Yeah, I think they locked this one up. I mean, for a reason. So there's a lot of weird. And then, of course, I have to mention that there's a bunch, and it's not that I believe in this stuff, but these people at the high levels are very much into this, that there's a lot of astrological coincidences. There's occult ritualism, the day, the time, I mean, it's literally like they did everything, but they were like advertising 666 all over the place. Like it's like almost a calling card at a certain level for like psychological purposes, or I don't know why they do it. But whenever they do a ritual like this that shifts the public consciousness, like 9/11 is an example, like an event that changes the perception of reality for the masses, the profane, they always have to kind of say it was them in a weird way. Like it's kind of like a karmic get out of jail card for them or something. And I mean, there's plenty. I mean, Crowley talks about that. I mean, it's not like that's just how it works for them because these people are very religious at those levels. And I'm not saying that's what this was, but I would say that this has all the signs of a ritual killing.
So religious as far as the other side or our side, or where are we coming at with that?
Oh yeah, no, demon worshippers, absolutely. Yeah.
Okay. And the day was, I haven't heard any of that stuff. The day's related to the 666?
It was more so he was 66.6 miles from the nearest Masonic statue or monument, like walking distance, like on the nose. There's some people that are into that have made like some videos about it that I don't know. And I don't know what to think about that. It's just kind of like, when an event like that happens, I just don't believe that something like that at that level was not thought about. There's so much weirdness about it.
And the security wasn't cheap either.
No, he spends millions of dollars on a security team. And he goes and says like, oh yeah, the local police have it covered. I'll take their word for it over a text message. And they don't go and verify. It's not like they're not allowed to. They can go there and check it out. They may not be allowed to be stationed there, but you can send someone if like the rule is, well, we don't allow armed security there. It's all right. Take your gun, put it in your car, lock it up, and walk around and do a security sweep. Like you would do that on all the high ground, especially when you're down in like anybody that knows. I mean, any security guide for somebody as high profile as Charlie and as dangerous as those situations are, he has the money to have a few eyes and ears around. There's no reason why they wouldn't do that. So I just don't buy his story. I think it's BS.
I thought it was interesting because Sean Ryan asked him about why didn't they have drones up? And it makes sense. They are in the flight pattern of an airport, and you can't fly drones in that area. The only one that can fly drones is the police department. And then the fact that that police department only put 6 people out. And they go, well, we only expect, and then the police chief goes, well, we only expected like 600 people. And then we didn't expect there to be almost 4,000 people. It's like, well, when you saw 4,000 people showing up, maybe you should have called the Orem Police Department and started asking for some mutual aid here, bud. You know, there's so many things that just don't line up and make sense. I think that the shot, I don't know if it was 30-06, he got shot like that. I don't know if that, it doesn't make sense that kid did it. And then why would you leave the rifle? There's so many, like, why would you leave evidence behind?
Well, didn't he just ditch the rifle in the woods?
Well, they said that, and they said they found it in a cardboard box, and then there's footage of him dropping the rifle in a gutter, and then it disappears magically, and then, like, there's footage of him running off the rooftop, and then he, like, dips down, drops it, but then it's like you can see the next frame, the gun just disappears out of his hand.
Well,
like it's there, and then it's gone. It's like, okay. And then there's like people walking in the background behind the trees. One person walks into a tree and then doesn't come out the other side.
Another thing that doesn't make sense.
It's like doctored. It's like already.
What the hell is this guy that was screaming, I shot him, and then
Professor?
He's a local Democrat activist that he runs around and he just kind of gets in the middle of a lot of these things. There were like some local train Tifa local artists that were like putting out on social media like he's gonna get it tomorrow, blah blah blah. Like, you know, there was a song.
The guy that,
go ahead.
I'm talking about that guy, that older gentleman.
Yeah, I know.
That was at the Boston Tea bombing. He had something to do with 9/11.
He was at
now he's here at Charlie. Yeah, and it's like, and then, you know, he pissed them all off, and they started searching. They found all the kiddie porn, and that's how they got him, is through the kiddie porn. It's like, what
the whole thing is just riddled with, this has got ops written all over it. There were so many things going on, and even if there wasn't at this point, like, let's say that all of the evidence that we're seeing is all manufactured and bullshit. That is kind of like a big red flag too. It's like, why do you need to put this much counterintelligence out for something like this? So at this point, There's state actors involved for some reason.
The guy parks his car in the school parking lot. He runs off into the woods. Where the hell does he go for an hour that time? They let him walk back to his car, jump in that bitch, and drive out of there without searching the dude or interrogate. You know, it just, there's too many holes here. It just doesn't make any sense. And I think the shot was made because they have video footage of someone walking on the roof from one of the cell phones in the background of one of the some of the cell phone footage. I don't know if the kid did it, but it just, there's so many holes. It just blows my mind. And then it happened the day before 9/11 too.
That's what I mean. Yeah, September 10. A bunch of lunar cycles. There's a blood moon the day before, whatever. It was like, there's all kinds of, it was like perfect for a blood ritual, something like this.
Okay. What about the cell phone with all the text message where he had been talking to his partner about this? Was that manufactured too?
I mean, it sounds like a 50-year-old mailman talking to his gay lover. It doesn't seem real. That was like one of the first things I was like,
It's
20-year-olds don't talk like this. Like, it was ridiculous. In my opinion. Who knows at this point? I don't know. It's honestly why I don't even, I mean, to be honest, I don't mind you guys talking about it. I'm kind of like,
no, it's just
like, I don't know, because they've muddied the waters so much. You can't trust any of it at this point, and that's the point. So
It's all conjecture.
Yeah. They want us,
hearsay, make some stuff up, or is it true? Probably never know.
It's very frustrating. It pisses me off. It's disgusting. I hate it, but it's what it is. I don't think there's any like.
I know. I just the last time me and you talked, it got heated, and I don't want you to think I don't want you to agree with what a lot of you're saying. I think someone shot him from that roof. I think it went in his neck. I think I think he's the person they got in custody pulled the trigger? I don't think so.
I didn't mean for it to get heated. It was more of like,
no, I respect it.
I got a little, the frustration was, we're talking about details based on something that we don't have the full understanding of, that doesn't make sense already. Like, we're talking about ballistics of a gun that already the bullet and like how that all happened doesn't make sense off the bat. And it would make more sense if they could tell us exactly what the round was. They recovered it. There's an actual report out. Like, we recovered this much shrapnel. They don't even have to recover the whole thing, just a partial, just a little piece. Just give us something, but it's all covered up and obfuscated on purpose. And now that's the problem. It's like, because then we could talk about all these other details, but it's like, we don't know what the freaking bullet was. So until we know that, it's kind of like, it doesn't matter. It's just spinning our wheels on something. We're just trusting that it's a 30-06.
Then you have Candace Owens talking about, when JFK got assassinated, they started naming things after him, and Charlie Kirk. There's a parallel right there. And so it's like, can't deny that.
I mean, it was everyone in the country and a lot of the people in the world and a lot of children watched a brutal murder of somebody they felt a connection with. And everyone around this country was traumatized from that.
Dude, it like screwed me up for weeks.
People that are so agnostic with politics came to me and were like, what's happening? They were like really sad. And I'm like, because I wasn't really that sad. I mean, it was shocking, but I'm like, I've known but I've watched a bunch of people getting whacked over the last several years. I mean, this is like, we've been seeing political assassination. It's kind of normal for me to see it. Not like that, like prime time.
Not that normal.
I mean, that was like meant for public consumption, and the blood spurting out. I mean, it literally, you couldn't make it, like, it literally was just, you couldn't have made it more gruesome. But yeah, you start naming things, so his name goes down. Now you got that trauma point forever and a point of resentment. You got a martyr. What I meant to go down the Nick Fuentes thing. I got sidetracked, but I think what they want to do is, and I don't think it's going to work, but they're trying to manifest this. They want us to go hard fascist. to create another Hegelian dialectic. They want us to start getting so angry and resentful that we start wanting to murder our political opposition.
So is that what they're trying to do with this Nick Fuentes?
I think
we're going to go from Charlie Kirk, and this is the alternative dipshit over here?
Yeah, it went from Charlie, the guy who was the moderate who wanted to talk. Now they murdered him. He's dead. Now you've got the boy Fuhrer running around saying we need to cleanse the earth of the Jewry.
Well, I think the guy that they've put up, if that's what they're doing, that guy is such an idiot. I don't know how.
I'm telling you, though, he is resonating with young white men.
Really?
I agree with you. I'm shocked that it's even working, but people are that brainwashed.
Because I listened to him on what was it, Crowder's thing, and I'm just like, I cannot believe people are buying into this crap.
I know. Can't thought he'd peter off into oblivion, but I meet people all the time that are my age that and they all listen to him.
Well, I think Tucker Carlson had made a good point a couple weeks ago that when you have white males out there constantly being blamed for everything for decades, and you can't get ahead because you're white, and at some point, cross-group section of the population is going to start to get fed up.
Yeah, we're going to get a midget Mexican Hitler to be our leader to guide us into the promised land. That's what the white men are going to do. We're going to get Nicholas J. Fuentes, the boy Fuhrer, to guide us into the promised land. So ridiculous. It's so crazy.
He's a Mexican?
Fuentes.
He could be Spanish, man. I don't know.
Yeah, he's always talking about he's like a white, he's like, I think his mom or dad is Mexican or something.
I have family that my wife's up in northern New Mexico that are as white as white, and they've been in this state since 1590. So, and their last name is a Spanish surname, and you wouldn't dare call them Mexican because their grandpa says they've been in this country before it was this country, so don't call me Mexican. So.
I know, yeah, and I meet a lot of those guys in Texas. They have like Hispanic last names and they look white and they claim white. But anyway, the whole thing is stupid. They want people angry about
Nick Fuentes. Yep. Nick Fuentes has captured the same demographic group as Charlie Kirk, 13 to 28-year-olds. Mm-hmm. Why would they allow him to do that? And what is his? Well, I know the white supremacy, going after those who are persecuting people that are of white skin tone, which, like Cody said, there's other people that look just as white as Europeans.
Spain, people tend to forget that Spanish is a European country, or Spain.
Yeah, it doesn't.
But we're getting off into the weeds.
Well, no, it's a good question in the sense of why are they pushing this? And it's to create, the thing about resentment is when you have a spirit of resentment, you're not looking for solutions. You're just looking to point a finger at somebody to blame, right? And the solution, it's like V for Vendetta. If you want to, sure, yeah, there are some that are more why did you not come forward? Why did you not stop it? I know why you did it. You were afraid, you felt powerless. You felt that this was like a speech he gave on the TV. You ever seen V for Vendetta? Okay. Mm-hmm. So it's like he's doing that broadcast. He hijacked the airwaves and he's like talking to the British people. And he's like, I know why you did it. You were afraid. You didn't know who to trust. The power structure was too big. And yes, while some are more responsible than others, and they will be held accountable, if you're looking for someone to blame, you only need to look into a mirror. It's something like that. But in the sense that, in what way have I been a party to this? And the way, once you take radical responsibility for it, then you have to start dissecting the system for yourself to understand, okay, how am I adding to my enslavement? Personally, at a personal level. And instead of doing that, we're just going to blame the Jews and the liberals and Democrats, and we'll just make everyone angry and just get red ants fighting black ants. And that's easy to control. You can dial the power up on that and off, through the algorithm any which way you want. and they're trying to manifest a violent scapegoat on the right that will start, they can start blaming killings on so they can have their martyrs too.
Yeah.
And then we all just,
That makes sense.
we just kill each other, or we just blame each other forever. I don't think that's going to work.
We can never come together and
Yeah.
unite. That's their biggest
Yeah,
fear.
they want permanent resentment built into this country that can always be picked at, just like Reconstruction in the Civil War. Like, I think if Lincoln was alive, I don't think Reconstruction would have happened the way it did. Reconstruction was like a brutal punishment. They went into the South and just stole it, like just brutalized and stole everything, just took over everything. The South never recovered from Reconstruction in the Civil War. It's why they were the poorest states until relatively recently. Now the South is on the rise.
Well, because the Yankees are moving in.
But yeah, the Yankees those people, as the Southerners call them, have finally destroyed their homes, and now they're all coming in to destroy ours. So, yeah.
Yeah, well.
And they were always Eurocentric, like institutionalists, went to the Ivy League schools. It's those people, They're not like us. They're elite. They call themselves elite. So
bourgeoisie.
Yeah, I guess, but I hate using commie words, but yeah, sure.
Cody doesn't. He likes using them.
I know that one word, and I will use it wherever I can.
I mean, communists are great at identifying problems, but they suck at solutions. There's not a single thing they've ever come up with that works. But they're great.
The thing I find entertaining, Karl Marx came up with communism, and he is in a private cemetery that you have to pay money to go visit in London. So he's a communist that believes in everything should be free, but you have to pay to go visit his gravesite. The irony,
Yeah, irony.
But I don't know.
So, yeah, no, I just don't, unless they start doing more radical things like that, if they're able to, and we're going to know, like, I just don't think they have as much of a handle on the information exposure on the right wing as they thought they did. I think it's way too, in a good way, decentralized. Everyone has their own personality they like to listen to.
Well, that's been always the problem with the Republicans, is the four of us are Republicans, but we're all independent.
I'm not. Yeah, I know what you mean.
I mean, we're conservatives.
I would never even call myself, I can't. I'm like, but I will fight with conservatives I will, ally with them against Democrats because they're insane. 100%.
What would you call yourself? A conservatarian, libertarian? What do we got here?
I'm a part of the responsible class.
I haven't heard of that.
There's the responsibles and then the resentfuls. And they transfer between parties. It's not a political party. It's a frame of mind of just, let's not cause more harm than we have to, and let's learn how to steward our resources wisely and eliminate corruption wherever possible. But let's also be realistic about achieving goals and making things actually happen. And if that means you got to ally with the Israeli lobby on occasion, or you got to to get a certain Democrat out of office, I got to work with a mosque nearby, which then you do it. But you got to be careful because it's also a slippery slope, But I don't know. There's no one. It's kind of a personal ideology more than anything, because what is a conservative?
Well,
depends who you ask. So.
Yeah, that's true. The conservatives were always called liberals until Roosevelt changed it and to bastardize the term liberal. Because liberalism means freedom. And I never could understand for the longest time why the people who say they want freedom are the most controlling group out there.
Well, it goes back to women's suffrage and
The
the
19th,
and what would you call it?
19th,
No,
19th Amendment, man. Ever since
the
then,
oh my goodness, the people, the anti-slavery folks. What do they call abolitionists? So the abolitionists that came out of the Northeast and the WASPs there, they kind of, because they didn't, that liberal term was more of a technical term until basically that faction of people, the radical abolitionist Republicans kind of took it over. And they were radical in the sense that they were Puritan in abolition. Instead of finding an off ramp for slavery, they just wanted to do a hard cut. But if they did that, the entire South would fall into a massive depression that they were not prepared for. And the people would all be, they'd all be screwed. Like the rest of the Western world didn't get rid of slavery that way. They bought them off. Like England just finished paying its debt on that loan.
what
20 years, like not that long ago. Like the English, when they got rid of slavery, what they did around their colonies was they bought the slaves. So the asset that you had poured all this money into, you didn't have a total loss. And then the way you collateralize all your other assets are kind of dependent on your slaves. That's just how it's financially structured. So if you just suddenly made all that go away, it's just like you just made a bunch of money disappear.
Yeah, that's true.
And so that money needed to go somewhere else and be retransferred and keep it in the system. So the government made basically bonds and debts out of it. And they've been paying it off ever since the 1800s. Long time. So we never did that. We got psyoped into a war that almost destroyed us and split the country up. And that was a plan by the European powers to split up the United States as a continuation of the War of 1812, continuation of the Revolution.
Well, because then the British backed the Confederacy.
It almost worked. It should have worked.
Well, even if it didn't, it would have, like, the idea was it creates a permanent schism of resentment in the United States that can be followed back up upon at a later date, which mission accomplished it did. It's just not quite the same way they thought it would be. But that same schism of North and South, that resentment, even though none of us were alive for that, we all are living in the ripples effects of that. And then that resentment got transferred onto, the civil rights movement came. And then you have another aggrieved class of people. Like in the Communist Handbook for America, they flat out say we can't really conduct class warfare in the Americas. They don't really have the same kind of class system as the Europeans do. It's kind of, you got entrepreneurial class, this weird middle class that's arrived that really never existed that has only existed in English civilizations. An effective middle class of stakeholders that weren't peasants, but not lords, but kind of in the middle.
Yeah.
So they decided, well, target, go after the blacks, feed on slavery, all that resentment, build it up, talk about racism, get all the minority classes angry and resentful against the minority and make them, the white class, the minority, and just turn this into racial warfare. And that was literally in their handbook.
Yeah. Well, they've succeeded at that because, the Civil War ended, 153 years ago? Yeah, over 150 years ago, and we're still,
it's not that long ago.
Out there. Well, it's not, but it's still, more than
lifetimes.
Several generate. And
2 lifetimes. Yeah.
And they're still going off on it. It's like, that's the thing too. Before the Great Society was passed by Johnson, a lot of this stuff was almost done and dealt with. And Johnson came in with that Great Society stuff. And when he signed it in, he put a lot of stuff in that bill. And he straight up said that they're going to have the blacks for 1,000 years now. He didn't.
Yeah, I think he said
Johnson was
the next 100 years or something.
Yeah, something like that. But, it's probably 100 years. And that dude was one of the most racist. He was right up there with Wilson, Woodrow Wilson, as being one of the most racist presidents we ever had.
Yeah. They just look at people as a means to an end. Which, once you understand how the world works, you can understand why they think that. And I don't fully understand it, but the little that I do, I understand why. I look around when I'm going around my everyday and I look at humans. I'm tempted to look at humans as things sometimes. Like they're just creatures just moving from one impulse to another, not free thinking, willing people. They're just gone. I'm tempted to think that way, but that's not right. That's wrong. That's not, we need to respect the divinity within all of us or else we lose our humanity. But I could see how these people live in their ivory towers would think that. I'm tempted to think that, and I'm nobody. In their world anyway, but you know, it's easy for me to see how you could just slaughter billions of people. It's easier than you'd think, unfortunately.
You know, well, Stalin. Yeah, it's when you talk about slaughtering people between Stalin and the Chinese, what, Pol Pot or whatever that guy's name was, Mao. They've killed what, 100 and some million people with their pursuit of socialism. And the thing that gets me is every single time they come up with their new idea, it's going to be different this time. Like the total definition of insanity is doing something over and over again and thinking you'll have a different outcome. So it's just, anyways.
I've got a...
Well, in the book, Think and Grow Rich has the antidote to that. Within that, I think it's chapter 3, it says you need to eliminate hatred, envy, jealousy, selfishness, cynicism by developing love for all humanity. And when you do that, it flips everything on its heel, right? Because what has all these other entities done? They have put in jealousy, envy, hatred, selfishness, cynicism, and how can you hate your neighbor and all that kind of stuff? But the antidote to that is to flip that, to get that out of you. And you look at people as someone that you can believe in because you believe in God, you believe in them, and you also believe in yourself instead of I'm getting all this stuff for myself. And so there is antidotes to this, and people have become very, very rich and very, very powerful and wealthy and stuff like that. Maybe corrupted down the road, who knows? Yet there is antidote to what they're doing. Not a lot of people know it, read it, understand it. But yet, if we can get that out, then there is a way to combat it in our own selves. From our own selves, we move that to others, and others continue to do that. We can have a snowball effect.
Rudolf Steiner, sorry, I have to quote, but this is the war of all against all that he talks about. That was effectively the left and right side of the human psyche was going to come into conflict with itself, which, you know, you read the Bible, it's like everyone knows. I mean, any Christian or spiritual tradition, really, the duality of man is always in the forefront of discussion and awareness, like that there's constant internal conflict. But basically that instead of everyone consciously thinking I'm a part of this tribe or that tribe, you would have an internal battle between two spiritual entities that would separate people into one side or the other. But I mean, he's not the first to say that. That's all over the Bible. You know, it's not really that profound of an observation. I just like his phrase, the war of all against all. I think that's very apropos terminology for the time we're entering into. Although I don't think that that's necessarily, it could happen now, or we could go into another political cycle. I think it's likely we'll go into another political cycle. We'll have to go through another round of tribalism, and maybe in another generation or two, maybe another 100 years or 200 years, then maybe that's when the ultimate war takes place. I don't know. But
or not.
Well, the war of like where everything is decentralized, like the clay sheet and the iron, where everything shatters and is fragmented to its ultimate conclusion in the human consciousness, where everyone is totally isolated and like the spark of the divine is going to be held within your very being, and very few are going to pass through, are going to be able to carry that transmission into the future. But enough will, the proverbial remnant, right? Yeah. But anyone that has that spark within them knows how hard it is to keep a hold of, and knows that that most humans will not carry it. Unfortunately, it's not possible. It's hard enough for a conscious, like me, as conscious as I try to be, it's very difficult, and I'm not even confident I'll pass that test. Like, I mean, it's so hard. So, but I want to.
And that's what God
You know.
gave us the Holy Spirit, because we can't do it on our own.
Right.
Impossible. It's just only by divinity and also by the blood of Jesus.
Yeah, which means you have to
Nothing
surrender, and good luck. The vast majority of people will not surrender. It's just not going to happen. So, and that's okay. I think that's always been designed. It's always meant to happen this way. It's like basic math in the universe. There's always going to be the exceptional few that move forward into the future. It always happens this way. So I got to get going. It's getting late.
And then Cody disappeared in a cloud. Look at that. Yeah.
Did Armand just eat you, Cody? What happened?
Can you hear me at all?
Yeah.
Yes.
I don't know what's going on with my footage.
We see shadows.
I am the shadow.
Well, well, let's cut it here. Thank you guys for joining us. If you got this far, appreciate it. And you probably have all your other ideas and stuff. If you want to send it all to Cody, and he can, talk back and forth with you, because, Colin works, I work, Wendell works.
We're going to.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. You guys, I work.
I'll answer questions too. I just did, like I don't mind doing that. And I'm sure Corey isn't either. I'd be pleasantly surprised if we got one.
Since you guys can't see it,
if you got this far, you listen to this. Yeah.
While we're here, can you do us all a favor? Go check out CW Guns and Gear. Go over and check that out. We have a store over there that you guys can buy a lot of crazy stuff at. What is the newest thing we put up there, Wendell?
T-shirt shop.
T-shirt.
Yeah, we have our T-shirt shop over there.
I'm sorry, guys.
We
I'm
got
hard
all
out.
kinds of stuff on there.
All right, see you later, Colin. Where is my video? Why is it not up?
I don't know.
All right, well, anyways, do us all a favor. Go check out CW Guns and Gear. We're also, what is it? This channel is going to be putting together a Patreon thing too. We'll put some links to that in the stuff. And I really appreciate you coming over and hanging out with us tonight, Wendell. Giving your insight. That's pretty cool. I appreciate that. And then Corey, thanks for coming over. And I think we'll call that a wrap, since I can't seem to figure out how to get my camera to come back on.
We'll catch you next time.
Yeah, there's moving shadows. That's all there is for Cody.
All right, stand by. Let me just end this real quick.